So I was a regular store employee, but because I knew how to fool with guitars and make them, I was immediately in charge of all the setup and adjust and made sure they were in tune and intonation and all the things with the new guitars that were hanging on the wall. So when you took one down, it played nice for the new customer. That's where I met Travis Bean, and he wasn't a guitar player, and he was recovering from a motocross accident where he broke his arm and was and so we hit it off, and he started watching me work on guitars, and he had a bright idea. He says, you know, you're always adjusting these necks. And he says everything about them, you have to keep adjusting them. We could make one out of aluminum and probably wouldn't do that. And I said, never have done that before. You want to try it? And so we did. And we built what was a predecessor to the Travis Bean in a little shed behind my parents' house as Travis Bean Guitars. We were in business from 72 until 78. When Travis Bean was in its younger days, our biggest boost was when Bill Wyman, bass player for the Stones, shows up on the cover of Guitar Player magazine with his Travis Bean and pontificates that it's the best bass sound he's ever had, and that made people look around and go, I believe him.
Well, I always took stuff apart as a kid and always took guitars apart to see how they worked. And once I started playing in bands, I got tired of going to techs to fix stuff, so I just started fixing stuff myself. And, you know, started fixing other people and other bands' instruments, and, you know, pretty simple stuff like changing out a pot, you know, readjusting, et cetera, et cetera. And then I found Travis Bean basses because the band that I was playing in, I needed a bass, and a Travis Bean popped up. I had saw that Bob Weston from Shellac played one. I was like, well, it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. I bought it, and that was I was like, well, this is it. This is all I'm going to play forever. Fast forward, I eventually got my hands on one of the reissue 97 Travis Beans that Travis made that was a pan back. It was one solid piece, which was a variation on what they did in the 70s. And recorded with Steve Albini, discussed with him about how obsessed I was with this bass and that I was paranoid that it was going to get stolen. And then once I was like, and I'm thinking about making one myself, and he lended me a bunch of instruments, and with all my instruments compiled what I liked from each one, and then made the first two prototypes of EGC. And then eventually I met Rita Bean, and I was like, well, would you be cool about going into business and making these and making Travis Beans again? And she's like, if you can prove it to Mark, then yes. And then Mark was like, make one and impress me, and if it works, cool. If not, go away. So.
And they were so good. I'm so happy that he's doing this because he's really good at it.
Well, like nowadays, like Luthiery's kind of been watered down to like anybody who knows how to adjust a neck. Whereas like Luthiery, from where he comes from, is like resetting necks on Martins. You know, the being able to refurbish these really highly vintage instruments and bring them back up to par, along with all the normal maintenance. The machining side of it is a totally different world. Like it's something like it was basically a 10-year apprenticeship, lots of math, lots of everything. But what's weird is like a lot of it coincides with what he has been taught with the old school Luthiery versus the new school stuff.
He apprenticed and learned how to do all this stuff the old way to tenths of thousands. But now with the advent of CNC machines and digital technology, he's a master of that and is better at it than anyone who's even close to making one of these instruments that I've ever met or seen. And the proof is in the instrument. They look great, they're designed great, and they sound even better.
This one is pretty much standard with the exception of the addition of the third pickup and an effects loop. So the effects loop sends a signal, sends your pickups out before it goes to the actual controls, comes back around, comes back in via special cable, and then you can shape your effects and everything on board with the controls. A production one and this one sound identical, it's just this one has that weird effects loop built into it.
Because the string is anchored in the same piece of aluminum on both ends, the string actually works harder and the fidelity is higher. Not to mention with the refinements of pickups, it's louder and we just like it better.
Yeah, and it almost has a natural chorus to it. It kind of sounds
Yeah.
like a piano is what I always say to everybody. Where it all started from, it's amazing to have stuff, being able to work on and have stuff for like Albini, Bob Weston, all the guys in Shellac, Uzeda and Bellini, Agostino, Tim from Silkworm, Ken from Failure. Like, I mean, the list, it's very strange that like all the guys in ISIS, not the terrorist organization, the band that predates it, the list has gotten so long that it's kind of unbelievable to me. If I can say so, like me and a former bandmate, Lauren Newman, were driving through the backwoods of California trying to find a show, and she asked me, she's like, what's the most special thing? You know, all this stuff has happened. And I was like, well, you know, I thought it was like, if I could do this, it was an accomplishment, but it was never fulfilling. And the most fulfilling thing was the thing that was there from the beginning. Being able to be there from nothing, bare metal and everything, to making it and being the first person to plug it in and play it was the most special thing. So with that caveat in mind, like, everybody who bought one is somebody that's special that has it.